Hello guys, how's it going? Today I have a crazy Easter egg for you guys involving the strange man. Now I have to warn everyone, if you did not complete Red Dead Redemption 2 or 1, do not watch this video as there are major spoilers for both games. Again, I'm going to warn everyone, if you don't want spoilers, do not watch this video. Okay, so here we go. Today we are talking about the strange man. I made a video about him over 1 year ago on Red Dead Redemption 1, breaking down who I thought he was. I will have that link in the description and at the end of the video for anybody who wants to see it. For people unfamiliar with the strange man, he appears in Red Dead Redemption 1 as a stranger mission. He is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Red Dead Redemption mystery. John meets him 3 times. The first time he meets him, he asks John to help his friend who is about to cheat on his wife. John can either encourage the cheating or stop him. He meets him a second time in Mexico, where he asks John to help a nun collecting money for the poor, or rob her, as he states. The final time John meets him is on his ranch at Beecher's Hope. The strange man is standing on the area that will be John's grave. He then says it's a nice spot. When John asks him for his name, he doesn't give a clear answer, and says he can't remember. John in anger tries to kill him, but something very strange happens here. Take a look at the full cutscene.
This is a beautiful spot.
Sure. What are you doing here?
My accounts. I'm an accountant.
Is that so?
In a way.
What's your name?
You know, it's the darndest thing. I can't remember.
Tell me your damn name and where you know me from.
Well, I know you're from Mexico. I know you're from back out west. Hell, I know you from all over.
Tell me your name or I won't be responsible for my actions.
Oh, but you will. You will be responsible. This is a fine spot. See you around, cowboy.
Damn you!
Yes, many have.
That's right, he is not a normal person. There's something supernatural about him. There are so many theories about him, ranging from him being the Grim Reaper, to being a ghost, to being a hallucination, to being God and the devil. There is also a new theory suggesting he is Josiah Trelawney. However, I doubt this, because even though Trelawney looks very similar to him, Trelawney is British, while the strange man speaks with an American accent. Also, the theory doesn't make much sense as Trelawney is a con man, and the strange man is some kind of supernatural force. He makes an appearance in Red Dead Redemption 2, but not in a stranger mission. You can find his shack located here in Lemoyne. When you enter the shack for the very first time, you will notice there is an unfinished painting in the center of the room. Make sure you guys remember that because it will be important later on. As we go through the shack, we can find strange messages and photos. Here we see the strange man's hat on this rack, as well as a mirror, and over here to our right is the unfinished painting, and above it are 2 other important paintings. There's the eagle and the deer. The eagle and the deer symbolize if you have good honor. If you have bad honor, I'm assuming that these will be a wolf or a vulture, and we also have a message up here saying the water is black with venom. That is a reference to the town of Armadillo. I'm going to show the town of Armadillo a little later. The town of Armadillo has a cholera epidemic. If we continue looking through the shack, we can find more messages, including these. From the snow to the cave, and I gave everything for art and learned too much and nothing at all. Now, from the snow to the cave, that's most likely a reference to the camps in the game, when the game starts out in the snowy mountains and it ends in the last camp at the cave. And I gave everything for art, and I learned too much, nothing at all. Now, this quote gets a little confusing because it says, I learned too much and nothing at all. That's contradicting each other. I learned too much, and then you learn nothing at all. How can that be possible? Well, what I think this means, I think it's translating to Arthur, because it could be meaning the paintings when it says art, but I think it's mostly a reference to Arthur. It's a reference to Arthur and John Marston's relationship. It says, I learned too much, when all the things that John Marston has learned from Arthur helping him out, Arthur trying to help John survive, help his wife survive his child, so that they can have a good life before he dies at the end. And if you get the good ending, Arthur sacrifices himself so that John can escape with his family. Now, that's where John Marston learned too much from Arthur. He learned everything he possibly could. But then when it says nothing at all, that's, I believe personally, that's a reference to when he goes after Micah and he kills Micah at the very end. And that's a bad thing because When he kills Micah, Micah was a Pinkerton informant, and when he killed Micah, if you looked at the credits scene, that's how Edgar Ross found John Marston for Red Dead Redemption 1. So he wasn't able to get away from that. If he never went after Micah and never went for that revenge, maybe Edgar Ross wouldn't have found John in the first place. And throughout the entire game, Arthur is constantly saying that revenge is stupid. He always says revenge is a stupid mission. He's against any kind of revenge killing. He thinks it's pointless, it's idiotic. And this is what John didn't learn from. He didn't learn about that Arthur is so against these revenge missions. Arthur would not have wanted John to avenge him. He wouldn't have cared. He just wanted John to survive. He wouldn't have wanted John to avenge him, to go after Micah, to do that. But he did, and that's where it says he learned nothing at all, because Arthur would have been completely against that. He would never have been for that revenge mission. On the table right here, we have a map of Armadillo, and it says, I offered you happiness or 2 generations. You made your choice. This is most likely a reference to Herbert Moon. He runs the general store in Armadillo. When I get to Armadillo later in the video, I'll explain what this quote means exactly. If we look at the table next to the couch, somebody inscribed saying, there was a man called Jimmy Brooks who was always running into crooks, till one chased him down and he had to talk his way around, that Jimmy isn't as dumb as he looks. Jimmy Brooks is the same man that Arthur encounters at the beginning of Chapter 2 when he enters Valentine. He's a witness to the failed robbery in Blackwater. When Jimmy enters the town, he recognizes Arthur and then tries to run away. Arthur chases him and corners him at this cliff where he's about to fall. Arthur then has the option of either helping him up or killing him. And in this case, I helped him up and I saved him. And the table demonstrates that. It says that he always bumps into crooks, and he talked his way out of this one. But this most likely changes if you kill him. This shows that the strange man is watching both John and Arthur, and knows about the bad and good actions that they've done in the past. Another message that we can find in the shack says, his final toll will sound my greatest coming. His final toll sounds like death, and that's most likely referencing John Marston's death in Red Dead Redemption 1. And when he says my greatest coming, probably signifying that the strange man is going to come for John when he dies. So it shows that the strange man is some kind of supernatural force. He's some kind of demon or some kind of god that collects souls. And here we have the final quote, which says, the moon will shine on in the darkness. This is most likely a reference to Herbert Moon, the only survivor of the cholera epidemic in Armadillo. And while researching this quote, I found something interesting. In the Bible, there's actually a passage that talks about the moon not shining in the darkness. Now, I'm not trying to push any kind of religious view on anybody. Don't think that, guys. I'm not even a Christian myself. I'm an agnostic. But while researching this, I found a passage in the Bible that talks about the moon and shining. And I didn't think that was a coincidence. And the passage in Isaiah 13, it says, watch out. The day of the Lord is coming, cruel with wrath and fierce anger, to turn the entire inhabited earth into a desolation and to annihilate sinners from it. For the stars of the heavens and their constellations won't shine. Their light, the sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon won't shine its light. I'll punish the world for its evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And this is in Isaiah 13, and this is referencing God punishing the city of Babylon, because Babylon in the Bible is regarded as a city of evil and sins. And in the Bible quote, it's saying the moon won't shine its light in the darkness, because it says the sun will be dark when it rises and the moon won't shine its light. But here it says the moon will shine in the darkness, so it's the opposite of one another. And the town of Armadillo is suffering from a horrible plague, which I believe that plague has something to do with the strange man, because the strange man is some kind of supernatural force. He's some kind of god or demon, whatever you want to interpret it as. And Armadillo may be representing Babylon, the city of Babylon that's being punished by God. That might be Armadillo in this case. I don't think that that's a coincidence that the passage is so similar to it. If we come back to the shack about 1 week later, for me it was about 7 days later. So 7 days later, we come back in here and we see somebody has started a painting. We see a black hat on here now. That wasn't on here before, so somebody has started this. Kind of creepy, but then if we come back 2 weeks later, so now 14 days later, we can see that the painting is complete. And it's the strange man. It's the exact same guy from Red Dead Redemption 1. It's a perfect match. And you can actually inspect the painting. And when you inspect the painting, John will actually take out his journal right here and he'll know what he thinks of it. So right here, he wrote it. Let's read what John thinks of it. This place made me feel like I was being watched. Weirdest feeling I ever felt. Hard to explain. Fascinating and awful and seductive. All at once. So John is even creeped out by it. Did you guys notice something strange while I walked in? Take a look at this again in slow motion. Watch the mirror very carefully as I walk in. Pay attention to the mirror on the left. Look at the mirror. See that? He's right there. He's watching you. So when you walk in the cabin, when the painting is finished, he will be there in the mirror and he will be watching you. And if you turn around, he won't be there. But once you inspect this painting and you write it down in your journal, he will disappear from the mirror. It's really, really creepy. Next, we are going to go to the town of Armadillo, which is located right here. Once we enter the town, you can see that the town is suffering from a plague. There's tons of dead people, buildings are boarded up, mass graves, people are burning bodies. And the sheriff is being sieged by the Del Lobo gang. You can help or not help. In this case, I helped. I got rid of them. And then the sheriff came out and he thanked me for it, but he actually left right afterwards and he gave up on the town. Here's a notice about the cholera epidemic in the town. I don't think I pronounced the name correctly earlier, but it's warning. There is cholera in this town. Avoid contact with infected persons. Consume no water which has not previously been boiled. And cholera, it's a disease that still exists today, but today there's treatments for it. There's ways to cure yourself from it. Back then, over 120 years ago, there wasn't really any treatment for this, and this is a bacteria that was notable for being in the water. So it's realistic that it would be in the water supply of a town if there was an epidemic for it. Now we're gonna go into Herbert Moon's store, and we're gonna notice something very strange on his shelf right behind him. Take a look at this.
Probably soon. That was fast. Welcome back.
Who's that?
I don't know. It's just a little portrait somebody gave me once. I always quite liked it. Why?
No reason. Just seemed familiar. Anyway.
This is a no admittance area. You have to go back. No DJ.
So as you guys saw, Herbert Moon has a picture of the strange man on his shelf. What we're going to want to do next is we're going to want to kill Herbert Moon, and no matter how hard you try to kill him, he always responds to the store a few days later. I think this is because he appears in Red Dead Redemption 1, but I also think there's more to that. If you loot Herbert Moon's body, you can actually find a letter from his daughter, Herberta. And right here, let's read the letter. The letter states, "Papa, I know you do not like Isaac, and I cannot bear that I have sullied your bloodline, as you put it, but I beg you to not cut me off as a daughter. I love and respect you, but I also love my husband, even though you consider the cause of blood and the selling of groceries to be the purest and best of callings. I feel called to a different path. Isaac and I are dedicating ourselves to helping the poor. I am sure your God will hate me for marrying a Jew, but Isaac is a good man, whatever you may think. Oh, Papa, I pray for you to the God you believe must hate me, and that he in his infinite wisdom can make you see that I am not the sinner you believe me to be. Either way, I love you and hope you will forgive me for this unpardonable sin and come and see your grandchild when it arrives. Your daughter, Herberta Solomons." Right here, so this is where it gets a little confusing. Now, what does this letter from his daughter have to do with the strange man? What is the link? What is the connection? What does this have to do with it? Well, the connection is in that map that we originally saw at the shack. Let me show you guys the map right here. This map of Armadillo that we found earlier in the shack holds the answer. It says, "I offered you happiness or 2 generations. You made your choice." The 2 generations are Herbert Moon's daughter and their grandchild. So it represents Herbert Moon's daughter's life, Herberta's life, and their grandchild's life. Herbert Moon made a deal with the stranger. Now, in Christianity, who do you make a deal with? Who is the strange man? Who is he? Well, from this Easter egg, from everything that I've seen, it's highly implied that the strange man is the devil. Herbert Moon made a deal with the strange man. And if you guys know the deal in Christianity, how it goes when somebody makes a deal with the devil, it's that somebody sells their soul to the devil in exchange for a diabolical favor. That's how the stories have always been told. And Herbert Moon, whether the strange man is the devil or not, he made some kind of nefarious deal with him. And he sacrificed his daughter, her husband, and their grandchild, his grandchild, for his own happiness. Now, why would he do that? As a father, why would he not sacrifice himself and instead sacrifice his daughter, her husband, and his own grandchild? Why would he do that? If you guys remember from Red Dead Redemption 1, Herbert Moon is an extreme racist. He hates so many groups of people. He hates Jewish people, and his daughter married a Jewish man. He would not be okay with that. He was so bigoted that he would let his daughter and her husband and their grandchild suffer and guarantee his own personal happiness. And that's why he is the only survivor of the plague in Armadillo. That's why he's the only guy who's not sick in the town. As you go through the town, you can hear a lot of NPCs saying, Herbert Moon, what's your secret? Herbert Moon, what's your secret? It's because he made a deal with the strange man where he gained immortality or he was not going to be affected by the sickness. The sickness has something to do with the strange man in my eyes. He made a deal with him where he's not going to be affected by the sickness. That's why he's pretty much immune to it, because of the deal that he made. So that was my interpretation of the strange man. That's what I thought of it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think of my theory, and don't take my theory as fact. This is just what I think. I could be completely wrong, but from everything that I've seen, this is just what I've put together, what I think happened. I think that Herbert Moon made some kind of nefarious deal with the strange man. Everybody in the town got sick except him. He chose himself over his daughter and her husband and his own grandchild. He's a terrible person. But, you know, this was a really fun Easter egg to try to figure out. I really enjoyed doing this Easter egg. And the strange man, he was my favorite mystery in Red Dead Redemption 1. And the strange man, we're never going to know whether he's God or the devil. You know, it's highly implied that he's either God or the devil. He's some kind of supernatural force. I will have the link in the description to my video that I made a year ago. It's actually really good. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure you check out that video. I will have that video up right here on the screen right now. It's a breakdown of who I think the strange man is based on all my theories. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like. If you're new to my channel, then subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.
What's your secret, Herbert Moon? Damn it, I wanna know!